All right, so we have Esa versus John Roberts II. That will be our next match on stream. Tom Dozel against Sugiyoshi Yamato on the other stream, twitch.tv/cardleaders. Great matches either way.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good game last game. Tom kind of redeemed himself from that early loss, and he's 1-1 right now, and he could still win this tournament. It's cool that we're going to get to see Klinklang.
I mean, I have to say, the two matches we had so far were, I don't want to say surprising, but, I mean, did you expect David Cohen to beat Yamato?
No, not really.
I really didn't either.
I mean,
he's showing us why he was the world champion. He's very good. He understands the game very well.
I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I was going to be Yamato. But David clearly is very good at this game.
Yeah.
And took it out 2-0.
Yeah. So we're going to have this match here. Of course, David Cohen and Yuta Komatsuda have advanced to the top 4. And now we're going to have our last 2 Swiss rounds here to determine who advances and who goes home. We have John Roberts II versus Esa Juntunen, Tom Dozel versus Sugiyoshi Yamato. If you have to predict right now, who's going to advance?
I'm going to go with Yamato because he's learning Mewtwo. And I've learned something from this year. It's go with the guy with Mewtwo. And as for John Roberts versus Esa, I'm not sure what Asa's playing. We haven't really seen him on stream yet.
I hope it's not Klinklang first hammer time. I truly hope that, because that's not going to be very eventful.
Well, it'll be eventful for Esa, at least.
But
we'll see where it is.
It's like they are setting up. Let's switch over. We have John Roberts II on the right. And Esa Juntunen on the left. This should be a spectacular matchup. Both of these players. We have Sammy Sakum screaming, "Please let me play one more round." He's always a good guy to be around. But we have John Roberts, Esa Juntunen, 2 players who really have come into their own this season. John is actually his first season, literally, and he won U.S. Nationals. And Esa, he's been around for a while, but he really didn't gain notoriety until he started his website, The Deck Out. And both these guys are very friendly. They do a lot for the community, and we're glad to have them here on camera.
Yeah, it's really astounding how fast John Roberts really reached top tier status.
Yeah.
It usually takes people maybe at least 2-3 years, and John does it in 1. So clearly, very, very good at this game, and understands how this game is supposed to be played.
Yeah, definitely. Just by talking with him, you realize that he understands how the game is played. He understands all the fundamentals of the game, which is really the hardest part to understand when you're just beginning Pokemon. Stuff like not benching too many Pokemon, managing your resources correctly, that sort of thing. A lot of new players don't get a hang of that for a long time, but John, he's figured it out right away.
Yeah, a lot of players will just end up playing down Pokemon they didn't really need to, and ends up backfiring very quickly.
Yeah. Now, Esa, he's been Finland's national champion 6 times. That's really an unprecedented standard to set for anybody. He's had some good performance at Worlds. He had a top 8 in 2008. But other than that, I don't really know. But we're going to start it here. John, start off with good old Klinklang.
Oh, man. It's an Oddish on Ace's board.
Yeah. So this is not Hammer time at all. It's a Bioplume deck.
Maybe it's the Accelgor deck.
Who knows? We'll find out. You don't get much information from Oddish. It could be a range of things. It could be Vanillix, Accelgor, it could be the Miss Maggie's deck, it could be a Bioplume Klinklang deck, or a Meganium deck. There's all sorts of stuff that can come with Bioplume.
All I know is when John sees Oddish, he generally is pretty happy about it.
Oh, and I think it is an Accelgor.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, he's Sage's training. I saw the Chandelure in his hand. So it's the Mew Accelgor Chandelure deck. This is a deck that a lot of people feared, but they didn't want to play it because at Worlds, top cut was 60 minutes. Here we have a 90-minute top cut, so maybe this deck will have a chance to shine.
I think that may have been what influenced Asa's decision on playing this deck.
Yeah,
He's really looked at the tournament rules for this tournament and says, okay, this deck is going to give me the best odds of winning.
Yeah, and maybe this is the deck he played for Worlds. I don't really remember, to be honest. But either way, I'm sure he'll play it very well. He did play a Sage's Training, and that is a devastating Sage's Training to have to discard an Accelgor and 2 double colorless energy.
Yeah, that hurts pretty hard. He does have an Accelgor in his hand, though. So he knew about the Accelgor. I wonder what he took over the DCEs.
I mean, it had to be really good cards. The double colorless is the lifeline of this deck. You need all 4 in your deck to have a chance in any matchup. You need those to keep up the deck and cover lock with View Prime. And if you lose 2 of them on the first turn, I don't understand how you're supposed to be able to lock your opponent consistently.
Well, we do see a second energy from John.
2 Prism down. Now, a big moment is whether or not he'll be able to get Klinklang out this turn before his trainers are locked. That'll be a huge deal. And also, the weird thing about this matchup is Klinklang has free retreat, so it doesn't really play Switch. If John doesn't play Unknown Cure or Espeon, stuff to get out of paralysis, it actually doesn't matter if Esa has Vileplume out, because John's just locked by paralysis anyway.
I wonder if Esa realizes that, because that's a point most people don't realize. You kind of just grab Vileplume instinctively.
Yeah.
And then you kind of sit back and go, wait a minute, maybe I don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of something funny I realized when I was playtesting the Klinklang deck. You actually don't need Vileplume to beat Klinklang when you're playing the Accelgor deck, because you'll just end up paralyzing them anyway. I mean, it'll be annoying because, yeah, they can move their energy off. They can still use Max Potion and make it so that you need to lock them for a ton of turns, but when it comes down to it, if they paralyze you every turn, you still can't get out of it.
So we did see a Tromp, pretty good. If he gets that turn 3 dual splash, he got
the Clang out, so he's got the stage 1. That's pretty big. Against Vileplume, the Klinklang deck does play a ton of trainers. He actually plays Lost Remover, believe it or not, in his Klinklang deck, which is kind of ironic when you think about it. The deck that loses to Lost Remover pretty badly, he's playing a couple now. But other than that, I'm actually kind of scared for Esa unless, he's going to be able to Prehistoric Wisdom this turn.
Esa is really scared of that Klinklang, or of the Kyogre possibility.
Yeah.
Like, there's 3 Oddish on the board, and, what happens if John just goes, alright, I'm not going to hit your Oddishes anymore.
Yeah, the other weird thing that can come up is he can just Tromp and just keep using Tromp. And then maybe he'll be able to knock out all 3 Oddishes at once. Actually, the way Esa staggered his Oddishes, the damage won't add up. But if you have 3 Oddishes on board, you can actually set it up with catchers where if you Tromp each one once, you knock out all 3 at once. John told us that he's done that before, but since Esa did just bench the 3rd Oddish after the other 2 had taken damage, I don't think there's a possibility of all 3 being knocked out.
So we do... He doesn't have a Darkrai on board, so that Relicanth is there for quite a while.
Yeah. I would assume that John is going to go ahead and start knocking out some Oddishes. I don't know if he will or not. Maybe he recognizes that Esa's board is a little strange. There's no Darkrai. And looks like John didn't get a Klinklang. Or maybe he did. I can't tell.
I kind of like...
he did.
Wow, that's pretty good. Was that 3 turns?
Yeah.
He did not miss a beat at all. And even has a Kyogre.
Yeah.
What would you hit here? Would you go after the Mew, or would you... Oh, it's so tough.
Yeah, I think I would go for some sort of long-term crazy play where you hit Relicanth for 50 and then Shaman for 50, and then next turn you could just Tromp, do 10 to a whole bunch of stuff, and then you can get a turn where you take 4 prizes at once with Tromp. That might be the right way to go about it.
So it looks like he's going catcher here. He wants to stop his opponent from drawing cards. Maybe bring up, Shaman. And I think he's going to go for a dual splash here.
Yeah, I would definitely go for Dual Splash if I were John. He really doesn't have any incentive not to. There's no way Esa can use Deck and Cover next turn. He doesn't have the energy to retreat and attach. And he also isn't able to use Twins quite yet. So if you're John, you have a big decision in front of you. Do you knock out the 2 Oddishes, pray that he doesn't have a Vileplume, or do you just set up for a big Tromp play?
I kind of like the big Tromp play. But he is going for a knockout here. Just one.
He's going for the knockout instead. I can understand that.
Alright, so it just comes down to... Now, he doesn't even get paralyzed next turn either.
Right.
And that's good, because it's very smart that he only knocked out 1 Pokemon here.
Mm-hmm.
With 2 Pokemon, you open up, like, the weird case of, like, oh, what if he plays 2 Shaman?
Yeah.
And the Darkrai. So he can, like, as unlikely that is, there is weird situations that can't come up by knocking out 2, but only knocking out 1, it's very safe.
Yeah, definitely. And
called it.
What do you know? Yeah, so I was going to say some people actually do play 2 Shaman in the deck, and you might think, why in the world would you ever play 2 in this deck? But, yeah, he's playing 2 Shaman. Go figure.
Yeah. My clairvoyance is really shining right now.
Yeah. So, even if Esa goes with a Deck and Cover here, I don't think it's the right idea.
Catcher?
What?
This is not a traditional Accelgor deck, that's for sure.
Yeah, now the problem with this, though, he can't follow up with a Deck and Cover next turn. He's going to have to promote something with a retreat cost. And he doesn't have a Darkrai down, he doesn't have any energy in play, so I actually have to question that move.
What if he runs,
Switch?
I mean, we've seen catcher.
Does he just play all sorts of trainers in here? The Vileplume is just a fake?
What if he just doesn't run any Vileplume?
He just runs Oddish.
It's just Oddishes, and he's like, I gotcha.
He just, like, baits his opponent into knocking out his Oddishes and then attacks with his other stuff.
There's a lot of funny situations where they use Junk Arm and Junipers, and they discard everything.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, Vileplume doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, I have to say in this situation, Esa made a kind of a strange play there. You would want to wait until you can Deck and Cover in consecutive turns. I also don't know why he decided to go after Klinklang. I think the Kyogre is more important to take out. Mm-hmm. It's a thing that could dual splash you, but maybe he just wanted to buy a turn in order to get his Vileplume out. So if he didn't do that, he would have lost both of his Oddishes, I think.
That's true. I wonder what is that a potion?
I don't think so.
No, that's a communication.
Communication,
okay.
All right.
Hey, man, you see all these, like, cards that you normally wouldn't see ever in this matchup, or in that deck.
Yeah.
And you start seeing things. So,
yeah,
we do see a Vileplume here, and he has a Mewtwo, or a Mew and a DC. So.
All right, but he still won't be able to use Deck and Cover. The Relicanth has a 2 retreat cost. I actually wonder why he promoted the Relicanth of all things, which has a 2 retreat. He's putting himself in a very sticky situation. What's going to happen is John knows that this guy cannot Deck and Cover next turn unless he burns a 4th or a 3rd double colorless to retreat that Relicanth. So he's just going to retreat, dual splash the Vileplume, and then, well, actually there's only 10 on that Vileplume, so I take that back. I thought he'd be able to dual splash twice and get that off the board.
Under this situation, would you just hit if he attaches to the active, would you just knock it out?
Knock out the active?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of energy would it have?
Any energy.
I don't know if I would or not, because he still needs 1 more to retreat. So I would probably just dual splash around it. You still can't get hit by a Deck and Cover next turn.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it does have a pretty big retreat cost. I believe it's 2.
Yeah, it's 2.
So with that rainbow energy there, He's going to be able to just dual splash the Oddish and the Vileplume.
Yeah, or he could get fancy and do like, he could hit a Mew and then Vileplume maybe. What that's going to do is set up a Tromp play that'll knock out the Mew and put the Vileplume up to 70 damage, and then he'll be able to dual splash it later.
Right.
So there's a lot of fancy stuff you can get with Tromp and dual splash. This is kind of why the Klinklang deck is so much fun to see.
He looks like John drew a hand of supporters or of trainers, so he's going to be kind of stuck just playing the board. I do like Tromp here.
I don't mind Tromp. The reason I prefer the dual splash though is you want to save your Kyogre. Here you want to be able to just retreat, use dual splash once, 50 on the Mew, 50 on the Vileplume. Next turn, your opponent might have the possibility of using deck and cover. You don't know. So, might as well have Groudon be the one that takes that hit. And then next turn you can just follow up with the dual splash.
Looks like John agrees with me.
All right. I won't question the national champ. So he's just going to go ahead and use Tromp. I don't think either way is bad, just because Esa's board is horrendous right now. It is just terrible. He doesn't have room for Darkrai or Chandelure. He benched 2 Shaymins. I mean, this is the spot you never want to be in when you're using a Vileplume deck.
Yeah, like with Tromp here though, you can go like you have a bunch of options. If he attaches DC to Mew,
You knock it out, yeah.
you knock it out. If he attaches to the active, you just dual splash around the Mew, or maybe knock out the active. And there's a bunch of cool plays. By putting the 2 on the Relicanth, and because of the rainbow, it's at 3. So
Yeah.
it's at 80. So if you attach to the Relicanth, well then, you just dual splash the Mew and the Relicanth, and then he just has to send up something that has a retreat cost.
Yeah, basically Esa has put himself in an unwinnable position. This is something that can happen very quickly if you manage your bench improperly, which I think is what we're seeing here. He just benched too many Shaymins. John he put him in kind of a weird situation with the Kyogre and the Groudon. Between Tromp and Dual Splash, there was just no way for Esa to avoid his Vileplume or his Oddishes from being knocked out. He missed the one turn of being able to Rare Candy into Vileplume, and he's actually going to Granite Head here, and that'll actually be 40 damage. Groudon's weak to water.
At this point, though, I think you just go Giant Claw.
Yeah, and John has to read the Relicanth. I think this is actually the best play Esa could have done, though.
I agree.
100%.
But it's going to hinge on him having that 4th DC and using it continuously.
And Esa actually, I think John was just shaking his hand like, well played, man. I didn't see that one coming.
I think all of us kind of missed that. It's sketchy because, it's very risky. If you lose that, if you don't hit that 4th DC over and over and over and over again, you literally just lose. And with only one cycling, that can happen quite often, especially with his deck so big.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is just that he discarded the 2 double colors with the Sages, and he's not ever going to get a Chandelure out, so he's never going to have that perfect lock where you can control what gets knocked out by Curse, Shadow, and Poison. I think at this point, even if he gets a deck and cover every turn, he's not going to win just because the stuff's going to be knocked out on the wrong turns. It's too easy to manipulate that damage with rainbows. You can knock out your own Pokemon. And so I don't think Esa really has a chance anymore at this game.
So he looks like he's going to dual splash. Maybe he'll just do smash turn and be like, hey, go Clink.
I don't know about that one, but he could just hit 2 Shaymins here. He could hit the Mew and Vileplume. I mean, really, he could hit any 2 things, and I don't think it would matter.
I like hitting the Mew for sure. Maybe Mew and Vileplume.
I could see that. He could hit the 2 Shaymins. That way it's just a Tromp away from a double knockout later. There's all sorts of possibilities. And if I see correctly, there's 30 on that 1 Oddish. So maybe he'll just go
Right.
hit the 2 Shaymins, and then Tromp. That could be a big 3 prize turn.
Right. The one thing I'm worried about is the Mew can just go, okay, I'm going to use deck and cover. That would require the 4th DCE though.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll set up for a giant Trump turn. Like, okay, save the Relicanth. I don't actually think he just has, as long as he doesn't knock out Relicanth, he can't lose. Because, like, if you retreat the Relicanth to attack with deck and cover, then who do you send out?
Yeah, I think the best play is probably to take the Mew and the Vileplume. 50 of the Vileplume, I mean.
Yeah, as long as you can knock out the Mew, you just can't knock out anything that has a retreat cost.
Yeah, and John, man, he's making all the right calls here. You can see why this guy won U.S. Nationals. He's really good. I don't think I've ever seen him screw up a single time with this Klinklang deck. He knows every situation with the deck, and it's really fun to watch, actually.
Yeah, this is really cool. Like, you think of these plays and you go, it takes us, like, together to go, I think this is the right one.
Yeah.
And John's just going, yeah, of course that's the right one.
Yeah.
What are you?
John's like, duh, I've played this matchup like 50 times. I've used my Klinklang deck every day for the past 6 months. So yeah, I know what's going on. And right now we do see a Sage. Doesn't look like Esa hit a double colorless. And he's got a bench of Mew, I would think. Otherwise, if his Relicanth gets knocked out, he's got nothing to follow up with.
I don't know, man. I think it's just like, I can't.
This just looks inevitable.
I can't envision a scenario where Esa just comes out on top in this game.
Then again, he did play a catcher, so who knows?
Maybe that was a proxy.
I don't think so. He moved a Pokemon.
Maybe that was a proxy, but he was like, oh no, I'm in a tournament. I better just keep it as catching.
People do play catcher in Vileplume decks to catch people off guard. Someone said to me that he played a catcher and a seeker in his Vanillux deck, so he could seeker up his Vileplume, and then catcher out an Espeon and knock it out, which is kind of funny, kind of overboard, but hey, people play it.
He really wanted to take out that Espeon.
Yeah, and then he complained because his opponent actually attached an energy to the Espeon, so it couldn't be paralyzed either. So somehow his opponent saw through his plan.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But now, I mean, like I said before, Esa just kind of put himself in such a bad spot with benching all these Pokemon. He really missed that one turn he needed to get Vileplume into play. This is something that can happen when you bench 3 Oddish, and then your opponent doesn't really knock him out. Because the Accelgor deck is one that does require a ton of bench spots. You need Vileplume, you need Darkrai, Chandelure, and then, I mean, I guess that's all of them, but if you don't have space for all of them, then the deck does not function properly at all.
Yeah. So, we are going to see, maybe it... Oh, wow. I think you just don't kill... you just don't knock anything out for the rest of the game at this point.
Well, he can even take the Vileplume and the Oddish at this point.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're right. He can just go Dual Splash, Vileplume, Oddish. But he doesn't run Switch.
Yeah.
So that may not be the best plan.
Maybe Night Spear, knock out the active and the Oddish. Then he can just Dual Splash the 2 Shamans for the win later.
He went for the Vileplume Oddish.
Okay.
But I kind of like maybe going after Darkrai Shaman and then go after Darkrai again and the other Shaman. And then just say, hey, eventually I'm just going to trump you. And when I do, it will be glorious.
I don't know. I think at this point he's got it pretty much wrapped up no matter what. Esa only has that one double call. Is
that a DC?
Yeah.
He got it.
It's his 4th one. He played the Twins for it. But at this point, he has to redraw that and the Mew every single turn from here on out. Otherwise, it's just Dual Splash, knock out 2 Shamans, game over. Because I believe, is there 20 damage on both of those?
On the Shamans? Yes.
Yeah.
It's been trumped twice.
Okay. I hope so, otherwise I look stupid.
Or no. It hasn't been. It only has been trumped once.
Alright.
That's why Dual Splash would have worked on it. So.
Alright, so it's still 2 attacks for John to win, not 1. This is actually a situation I encounter a lot with Klinklang. I always feel like oh, I just need one more attack to win, and then I realize, oh, I actually need a couple more than that. There's just too many things where the damage doesn't add up right.
But Revive is now a good out for him now, so he can go Dual Splash.
Yeah, definitely. With no Vile Plume out, you got to think John's going to win eventually. Mm-hmm. At the very least, you got to think he's going to win on time. Just max potioning his stuff all the time.
Oh, wow, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I commend Esa for playing this out. This is his last game if he loses, and he's really trying to put on a show for everybody, but at this point it seems all but hopeless.
So we do see him taking off some damage off Klinklang. I would have liked to see it saved up for the Kyogre, but not a big deal.
There's John plays 2 Kyogre. There's another one in his hand.
No way.
Yeah, it's good, man.
I know, but it was always like, I guess it was just ingrained in everyone's mind that you should only play one, but
Hey,
John is just going, hey, I make the standard for this.
Yeah, definitely. There are actually a lot of times where I felt like I needed 2 Kyogre, so I guess John came to the same conclusion. I actually did practice with this Klinklang deck a lot in the past week, mainly because it's really fun to play. And it's just fun to have all these different attackers. You just feel like you can do whatever you want. And, oh wow, Esa plays N in that deck too.
Yeah, there's a lot of surprises coming out of Esa's build. Generally, you see a lot of like Sages and Junipers and maybe Musharna.
Wow, he drew the double colorless too.
His deck is actually getting pretty thin.
Yeah, wow. He might be able to keep up the lock for a very long time.
However, there is Max Potion, and now John also has access to Junk Arms.
Yeah.
So...
But still, I don't think he plays Switch. Oh, Catcher, that's going to be a big one. That's going to break the lock.
Yes, it will.
Forgot about that one.
Wow. John is really good at this game.
Yeah, once you can play Catcher, you can just bring up the thing that doesn't have free retreat. So what's going to happen is Esa needs to play the double colorless to use deck and cover, but he also needs to attach to retreat, and he can't do both. So he just won't be able to use deck and cover, and effectively that's going to break this paralysis lock.
He looks like
He
John...
drew it again.
Oh, man. There's no way he can do it again. And, if John hits a Catcher next turn...
Yeah, he can knock that 4th double colorless out of
We've
play.
been reawakened to the possibility of Catchers. And that is looking very deadly.
Yep. And looks like John drew an N of his own. He's going to communication.
Get that second Klinklang out.
Yeah, probably. Might as well. No harm in that. And he's going to play the N.
So let's just see if he gets the Catcher.
Yeah.
So he probably doesn't even need it at this point.
Yeah, now, interesting thing. I don't think in this game it'll matter, but oh god.
Oh no. There it is. That's a loss remover.
That is a loss for Esa.
That is all 4.
Oh man.
I've never seen all 4 just like not
Bam.
being able to be used.
What an unlikely way for this game to just end. A lost remover from his Klinklang deck. Taking away that 4th double colorless. Oh man. I never thought I'd see that.
He's just going to go Night Spear now.
Oh, man. John, I love watching John Roberts play, man. He just is very entertaining. His deck is so fun to watch, and he just comes up with creative ways to win all the time.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this game's going to be finished up in 2 turns.
Yeah, I think so.
Night Spear on Shaman, and then do it again.
Yeah.
That's it.
Unless Esa plays 3 Shaman, I don't think this is going to happen.
If he does, I have no idea what's going on in his deck. Like,
I don't want to live in this world anymore if he plays 3 Shaman in this deck. Or does he play 5 double colorless?
Maybe. There we go. There's the hand.
All right.
And John Roberts is going to the semis.
All right. John Roberts is second. He's going to advance to the top 4 here at the Top Cut Invitational. Looks like, we have Tom Dozel.
No. Yamato.
Oh, Yamato. Okay. So Yamato will advance, not Tom Dozel, I apologize. Then John Roberts, Yuto Komatsuda, and David Cohen.
Wow, a very star-studded cast, and a lot of people wouldn't have predicted John. They were like Klinklang, John Roberts, one-hit wonder, right?
Yeah.
But what John's showing us here is, hey, I'm actually really good at this game.
Yeah.
Guys, stop.
If anybody had any doubt that John Roberts was an incredible player, I think they're gone now. He just played that situation beautifully. A lesser player probably would not have taken advantage of that situation the way he did. They probably would have just been dual splash, knocking things out for no reason, freeing up bench spots. But John, he understood the situation, and there we go. He's advancing to the top 4. I mean, Esa played as well as he could, but in the end, John Roberts will advance to the top 4.
So we're going to have Yuto Komatsuda versus John Roberts.
Yeah, that'll be an exciting match.
And we'll have Yamato versus, who was it?
Yamato versus David Cohen.
Yes.
Actually, it'll be the other way. Sorry.
You're right.
It'll be Yamato versus Yuta, is that right? They're in different divisions.
Yes, that's right.
Yamato versus Yuta, oh wow. And
Okay.
then John versus David.
All right.